With all the Best Picture nominees now out of the way, and the argument over which movie deserves the crown of Best Film of 2023 commencing, we move on to review a film some are already christening the best movie of 2024. While it may be a bit too early yet to give any film that title, I think it's clear to see why Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2 has captivated audiences and critics so much. And honestly, it would be very shocking to not see Dune 2 in the lineup of Best Picture nominees next year. Returning to complete the two-part adaptation of the novel he started with 2021's Dune, Villeneuve should be given props if for nothing else being able to deliver his vision of Dune amongst setbacks including COVID shutdowns and the endless Hollywood strikes. Navigating the turmoils of Hollywood and not even being allowed to film both movies as one, instead having to hope Dune Part 1 did well enough to justify Part 2 being greenlit, it's no secret Villeneuve also wants to make a third movie adapting the second Dune novel, Dune Messiah. Dune Part 2, taking in an $81 million domestic opening and a $178 million worldwide gross against a $200 million budget, bodes insanely well that Denis will get his wish. So what has drawn viewers to this movie? Continuing Paul Atreides' story, played by Timothée Chalamet, as he and his mother Jessica, played by Rebecca Ferguson, continue to flee into the desert of Arrakis after the assault on their house and death of Duke Leto, Paul and Jessica will settle in with the Fremen, as Paul learns their ways and using his Bene Gesserit heritage and teachings solely fulfills his role as Lisan al-Gaib, essentially the Fremen's messiah. This also plays into the Bene Gesserit's role of Kwisatz Haderach, a political engineered messiah the Bene Gesserit have been cultivating to rule. Paul, reluctant to become either, may have to accept his role as both to overcome the Harkonnens. Dune 2 is visually breathtaking, Villeneuve is nothing if not an impeccable visual storyteller, and Dune 2 is the proof in the pudding. Filled with exceptional set pieces, fantastic blending of CGI and practical effects, even going so far as to use the visual art of the movie to contrast and highlight the varying planets and cultures, whereas Dune is dry with brown, red, yellow, and orange color palettes, Gaidi Prime, which in the novels revolves around a black sun, is showcased with sharp black and white contrast. It's a visually satisfying and unique way to set the scenes, societies, and atmospheres apart. Unfortunately, while this visual world building is nice, actual depth of lore and world building is absent. Gaidi Prime's all black and white makes for cool visuals, but also comes across as nearly done solely for artistic reasons. Just adding in the small detail of the black sun, something never mentioned in film, would have solidified the artistic and lore reasons for such a choice, making the world building even richer. This, I find, is the biggest gripe I have for the entirety of Dune 2, an epic and highly entertaining movie that misses a lot of subtlety and depth from the novels. Very little in the film is poorly done, with a massive cast from Chalamet and Ferguson, the likes of Zendaya, Javier Bardem, Stellan Skarsgård, Austin Butler, Léa Seydoux, Florence Pugh, and even the great Christopher Walken. The star power is massive and each delivers great performances. The story is tight and fulfills bringing the events started in Part 1 full circle. And, as previously mentioned, Villeneuve's technical craft in visual storytelling, whether set pieces or action scenes, is mesmerizing. For all the big names, however, many of them serve little role and could have been played by anyone. I'm sorry to say, Walken was completely wasted. This go big mindset works as an entertaining film, but underlies the bigger issues with what has been lost from the novels. And while I argue the main themes are present and the important aspects of the characters and their motivations are mostly intact, there's enough significant changes that lessen the subtlety and depth of the story to have really irked me. Dune is a story with religious themes with an emphasis on the importance of truth and how using the truth to manipulate people, or even more specifically, to manipulate people's faith for power or political gain, can lead to an even greater evil. The depths of this subject are boiled down to a much more simplistic look at religion that still harkens to the novel, just not as richly. Ultimately though, Dune Part 2's draw to audiences is understandable. It still offers edifying themes and ideas, along with a smorgasbord of enticing action and visuals. It foregoes any woke agendas to tell a relatable story about humanity that, while not as powerful in my opinion as the novel it's based on, still resonates with people due to universal themes. Dune 2 is far from a perfect adaptation, but it's still good and the best version of Dune audiences have gotten so far. I give Dune 2 3.5 out of 4 stars.